excuse me. Let's see. If you're available to do so, go ahead and turn on your cameras. It's always good to see your pretty faces. Hello, Miss Azita, Stephen, Kenny. If you're available to do so, guys, go ahead and turn on your cameras. Awesome, awesome. Hope you all had an amazing weekend. We had a really hot one up here in Massachusetts. It's really hot today as well. We're going to go ahead and start with our wins for the week. So I want you to go ahead and take out a notepad or your note section in your phone and write down as many things as possible. Let's try to get to 50. Try to write down 50 things that you're grateful for. And the reason why I say 50 is it's really easy after a while being in this content to write down 10 or 5, right? You can just kind of rattle off like sun, sky, plants, you know? So I want you to get to 50. So I'll give you till probably about 8:05. Write down 50 things that you're grateful for. And Dad and I are going to do the same.
We have to encourage our
All right, guys, let's bring it back. If you struggled to get to 50, I got to about 54. So you want to get really good at this and just letting your mind flow of what you're grateful for to get you in a really positive state, and remind yourself of all the good things that are constantly surrounding you, right? It's really easy to get caught up in our days and in the work and in the hustle or whatever you're doing, and forget about all the good things that we have around us. And so this is a great exercise, and I encourage you to do 50 every time, because it really gets you thinking about what's around you and what you can be grateful for. Let's go ahead and share. So if you have wins for the week, let's go ahead and share those now.
We had a share. Oh, that's a nice rock.
This is, Maddie made this when she was 6 years old for me. This is Gary, the rock.
Yeah.
I am so grateful. I'm grateful for this little rock.
I was really creative.
This thing's awesome.
I was expecting him to talk.
Well, go to Facebook and look up Gary Dalmaso. You'll see him.
Yeah, he.
Okay. So I just want to say that Leslie and I, our win is that we've really upped our vibration around our businesses, and we're seeing success, especially with bringing in new clients. And we got some business owners on the back burner that they're looking to come in as well. So we're just seeing some awesome, phenomenal attraction to our businesses.
That's really fun when you start to see that, right?
Yeah.
You're like, it's working. It's amazing how fast things line up, guys, when you get in tune with you and when you get in harmony with what you want. It's really cool to see. So congratulations. That must feel really good. Anyone else?
Yeah, I got something, Madison.
Sure.
Michael. Hey, hi everyone. Sorry I'm late, but I don't know if you guys saw in the New York Times front page earlier this week on Thursday. There's a picture of an aircraft carrier with my aircraft that I used to fly on, Final Approach, and then I put a post in LinkedIn about it. Basically, put the picture in there, and said a little blurb, and then said with much gratitude. And then now, after only like 5 days, I have 24,690 views on this thing. And I wasn't even expecting any of this. And get this, what's cool is Bob Proctor and Sandy Gallagher are now connected to my LinkedIn now. It's just weird.
That's so cool.
I had sent invites a long time ago, and they just, they never did anything. But I don't know if this had something to do with linking everybody, or at least popping up in front of them. Anyways, I thought that was pretty cool.
I'd say so. Congratulations. Awesome. Anyone else want to share? Hey, Stephanie.
Hi, how are you?
So good. How are you?
Great. My number one win is you connected with my daughter, and I'm so excited about you getting on board with her, because that was huge. And then I actually got great news today. I'm going to be doing a corporate training around the consciousness shift that we're going through, and my experience as a COVID advocate, helping employers understand how they need to nurture their returning workforce that have been stricken with COVID. So I'm kind of like the collective empathy person for, it's actually an agency that farms out business to other companies. They're a wellness company. So I'm very excited about that. So I'm in the flow, I'm feeling it. It's good.
Awesome.
Very
awesome.
great. Very great.
Your hair looks fabulous as well. So
thank you. I did it up for you guys.
I love it. I love it. One more, guys, and then we'll hop into tonight's lesson.
Oops.
John? Hey, John.
Hey, Maddie. How you doing, Maddie? Hey, Brian.
Hey, what's up, brother?
No, it's been a great week. We have 34 calls booked for this week. It's been crazy. Dolly's in my. What's that?
It's not, substitute the word crazy for expected.
It's expected, and 15 booked for next week. I will activate 3 tonight. Got the money already, and it's just amazing what is. Oh, that's a good word, Brian. What can be manifested? just out of nowhere, literally 2 weeks ago, this was not even, it was out there, but not in my conscious thinking. It was in the subconscious. So Dolly's been closing for me. She's had 7 calls today. And just been great, Brian, Patty.
Woohoo! That is amazing. Clients are in flow.
Yes.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into tonight's lesson. We're going to be talking about fear, procrastination, and the 2 sides of the mind, right? Faith or fear. So I will hand it over to you, Dad.
Awesome. I just did some quick math, and John, I know most of those are going to close somewhere between 300 and 400K in the next couple of weeks coming your way. So that's pretty cool.
Yes.
I love it. Yes, guys, I want to take a deep dive, and I'm going to pull up the mind map here in a bit. But I think lesson 7, the terror barrier, is a lesson that is really pivotal. Understanding the mind map and what most of the people are doing, including us. Still, we're always at different levels of awareness. We're always getting better. But I still have calls even with one-on-one clients, and they'll hit the terror barrier and start to bounce off. And obviously, we kind of coach them through that. But I love one of the things that Earl Nightingale said. Right? He said, "Man's problems exist only in his mind." Think about that one. There couldn't be a more true statement, right? Man's problems exist only in his mind, and they have absolutely no existence outside of his mind. Think about that for a minute. It's and one of the things I want to try and get you guys to do tonight, have a little bit of a paradigm shift here. Don't just hear with your ears everything we say tonight. Hear with your soul. Don't just see with your eyes when I bring the mind map up. Try to see with your spirit so that you don't just go through this lesson tonight and just kind of do the same thing tomorrow, right? Man's problems exist only in his mind, and they have absolutely no existence outside of his mind. I could just repeat that for 60 minutes, that one phrase. That'd be the lesson. That'd probably be a good lesson, right? And he also said that, we first have to create the vision of the person we want to become and then act like that person. Right? Now, this is easy to do with the small things. Oh, my kid came home and they get a C on their report card. It's easy to use this material when somebody gets a C on the report card. But my kid came home and they're using heroin's a different story, or, a family member passed away, or a tragic this or a tragic that, right? So this stuff is easy to use when it's a trivial or a perceived trivial thing. What we want to do is incorporate this into everything. Makes sense? You can process anything that comes your way with this material. And the first thing to realize is there's no such thing as good or bad until you perceive it as such. So I'm going to shift over to the mind map here. Let me pull this up. Let me pull you guys back up. There we go. Got your little smiling faces. Cool. And again, guys, if you can turn your cameras on, it's always better for everybody to see your smiling faces. So when we look at the mind map, right? I mean, this is really the crux of what TIR is. This is really the deal. You understand this, and you understand really everything. You understand every situation that comes your way. Nothing's good or bad until you label it as such. You understand how to be on the knowledgeable side or the faith-based side. Like faith is having a knowing without the evidence or without the proof. Having faith in your goals or in what we're doing in our journey here in the physical plane. Having faith is just the opposite of fear. Most people are programmed to be in a fear-based state. And then the other thing we're programmed to do is we need physical evidence. It's the strangest thing. And I've been obviously programmed that way as well. But it's the strangest thing for us to need physical evidence before we pursue something more. And I love the analogy of somebody that's not in shape and they go to the gym and they do a set of crunches. And then they go over to the mirror, lift up the shirt, and they're looking for the 8-pack. Right? Everything is energy and persistence over time. Everything. It might be a short period of time or 10 years, but it's consistent, persistent energy out to create the physical form of the thing. And the law of polarity states that if you don't consciously plant what you want on a daily basis in your mind, from the conscious to the subconscious, then by the law of polarity, you're going to get what you don't want. That's why people say, I wasn't thinking about getting this. I wasn't thinking about losing my home. I wasn't, why are these things happening to me? Right? And nothing happens to you, it happens through you. And everything that happens for a reason, and it's a cause and effect. Now, a lot of times we can't identify what the cause was, and it might even be before we were born by our, parents and grandparents and ancestors, but we start to look at things through a different lens and understand, okay, everything I'm living today is a result or an effect of yesterday's causes. So your thinking today is going to set up the vibration for all of your results tomorrow. And I don't mean literally today and literally tomorrow. I just mean the past and the future. So when you're looking at the mind map here, and you look at the negative side of the equation. Now, negative doesn't mean bad. It just means negative. It's the opposite of positive. We tend to label everything negative as bad, but that's not the case. A lot of the things that happen in our lives are meant to highlight contrast, right? A divorce, a loss of a job, foreclosure on a home, even an accident or something physical. A lot of times we attract those to highlight differences. And the reason why that is because people will move away from pain a lot faster than they'll move towards pleasure. So this happened to be Monday on a small scale, a very trivial thing, but my life is effing awesome. It really is, man. It's designed, it's crafted, like I love every single part of it, And it doesn't mean because everything's awesome, but something happened last week towards the end of the week, and Maddie can attest to it. It definitely pulled me off my vibration a little bit. It was a business thing in one of my companies that I had to sort of deal with, and it consumed a whole day. I had to clear my schedule and do something I really didn't want to do, and I finished that up today. It ended up being not that big a deal, and it's done. But I had to use this material, because the thing is just the thing. But if I get into a low vibration for a long enough period of time, it's going to set up an attraction for something I don't want, something else, and it could be something completely, totally different. So this material that we teach is designed for you guys to raise your level of awareness. You got to be aware that you're in a low vibration. That's step one. Most people, we're not taught that stuff. We don't know that. So first step is awareness. But step two is to do something about it. And I actually had a conversation with Maddie that she talked me off the ledge, and that's kind of a dramatic thing. I wasn't on the ledge, but for me, you know what I mean? That was, I don't get off like that. And her and I just had a great conversation and just kind of reframed some things and ended up crushing the weekend, just absolutely crushing the weekend. So when you're looking at this mind map, and I have these things everywhere, there's a reason I can always pull this out. What I want to ask you guys is, do you always have this within arm's reach? John Pasanchak, nice. Who else has one of these right here? Maurice, see, that is a good piece of advice. You guys see what Maurice has? Highly, highly recommend you have this as a screensaver. But you want to fall in love with this mind map and understand what it is. The terror barrier is what plagues most people as they come up against something. It causes a double binding message, right? You have a paradigm, which is a Y vibration, and you have a new idea, whether it's whatever, a good or a bad one, and that XY vibration causes anxiety in the body, the physical expression of anxiety. And you can see it's right here. Well, I was going to say black and white, but black, white, purple, and blue. You can see what's going on, but I don't want you to just see it with your eyes. I want you to process this. Really process this tonight. Take a look at the mind map. You cannot get negative physical results unless you've been in a negative physical vibration for a period of time. It's impossible. Right? These are laws of the universe, like gravity, and these are it's physics, right? And then you realize at a bigger level that there actually is no such thing as good or bad until you label it. That to me is a higher level of awareness. And even the thing that I had to process this week, it highlighted how damn good I have it. It reminded me of like, oh my God, like life's good, you know? So that's why it was put there. That's the reason, that's the deal. It highlighted contrast again. Right, so when you're looking at this, we're either going to be putting thoughts of fear, lack, and worry out on a daily basis, or thoughts and vibrations of hope, faith, and abundance. Now think about the law of polarity. You're never going to be in a neutral state. You can't really not be in a neutral state. There's no such thing as like a neutral energy. You're either going to be in a faith-based or a fear-based slightly, or extremely. Extreme depression is a low vibration. Extreme exuberance is a very high vibration. But think about that. So when you look at all the areas of your life, your physical fitness, your relationships, your finances, your business, your relationship with your kids, family, look at all these little areas, and you start to just come from a, it's funny because I say come from a neutral stance. That just means pulling yourself outside and looking back in. So you don't want to beat yourself up about anything, but you want to look at these areas and just question, like, how have I been thinking about my job? How have I been thinking about my business or my body or my whatever, right? Because the thinking sets up the vibrations, and the vibrations cause the future physical results. So then we think about this, right? And if you're not intentionally focusing on creation, health, and wealth, then by default, right, we create forms of sickness, death, sorrow, trouble, limitation. So if we're not consciously doing the positive energy, then by default, we're going to get the negative energy. And it comes through the news and the media and our friends and our neighbors and our this and people bitching, moaning, complaining, all that stuff, right? So this is why we have these systems of the goal card, the vision board, the life script, right? In the mornings, at nighttime, what's your morning ritual? What's your nightly ritual? So understand some of these universal laws and principles, right? Bob's been studying every single day for the last 60 years now. It's remarkable to watch the level of willpower. But then I understand, but if he doesn't do that, the opposite thing's going to happen. Even somebody like Bob Proctor, if he stops repeating this information from the conscious to the subconscious, then he'll start to lose his creative ability and he'll start to move towards what he doesn't want. Does that make sense? So that's why we developed the habit in thinking in the results of twice a day, every day, the morning ritual, the nightly ritual. You know, as you guys go through the 6 months in TIR, obviously we have follow-on things, but ideally you want to set up those study habits. You want to set up those study habits so you, for the rest of your life, you're consciously putting in the good, if that makes sense. And you just look at the mind map, right? And then you start to understand some of these universal laws. I love what Thomas Troward says in the book, The Hidden Power. He says, when you start with the color red and the color spectrum, you can create all shades of it, purple, orange, brown, right? Same thing with blue and the color spectrum. You can create certain shades, but it's impossible to start with shades of blue and manifest or manipulate it into shades of red. There's certain things that just are against the laws of physics and nature. So it's the same thing with the thoughts. These are universal truths. It's impossible to start with fear, doubt, lack, worry, and then create anything of a high vibration, which all of your goals are on a high vibration, right? Everything you guys want, whatever it is, it doesn't exist on a low vibration. Nobody's saying, boy, I really hope I get a stomach ulcer. That's my goal. Nobody's saying, I hope I, become impoverished by age 60. Like none of us are wanting and wishing and praying for goals that are on a low vibration. So if that's the case, to me, it's really black and white. We need to practice and develop habits through repetition on constantly being in a high vibration. That's really what we're doing here in this group, right? That's what this is all about. That's why it's every Monday night. That's why the lessons are twice a day, every day. It's to really build up your new paradigms, right? You create a new paradigm. You don't have to worry about the old one. You create a new one. And one thing I want to bring up to you guys, this is what one of the things that happened to me. You may or may not be in the vehicle or the revenue stream right now that's going to get you to your goal. You might be, but you might not be. And the reason I say that is, for me, when I had this big paradigm shift, I decided to pursue the industry of network marketing. Right? I had my construction company. I added another revenue stream. I was in the energy space. And I just put the gas down. I said, I made a decision to be a 7-figure income earner in that vertical. Now, I'm still not a 7-figure income earner in network marketing, but the pursuit of that 12 months, that's what led me to Think and Grow Rich. It led me to Bob Proctor. It led me to Thomas Troward. It led me to this whole series of things. And then people started coming into my life in situations and things. And next thing you know, we had a software company. We spun off a clothing company idea from the people I met through pursuing this thing, right? And this is how, if you look at my journey, right, I went from, early days from an engineer, and then to architecture, and then construction, and then network marketing, and then software, and then clothing, right? So these careers, these things we do, you don't want to spend much time. I don't want to say this. A good example, I saw Kenny Harless was on here. Somebody that puts all the energy into being a doctor, right? It's like 12 years. I mean, there's a lot of energy, time, money, right? But if you get there and you're living in it, and it's not what you thought, it's okay to switch. And that's what Kenny just did, by the way. He cashed in all his chips and created a whole new life in a matter of just months. So that's a good scenario. I think like the doctor scenario is a good scenario. So if you guys pursue something, but then you get to the something and it's not what you thought, it's just one door leads to the next. Is it making sense? I'm trying to just sort of explain that it's not the end all be all when you make a decision to do something. It's just the next thing. And I know Maddie had this for a bit. She got a little analysis paralysis, and your kids might be doing this too, by the way. The ones high school, college. 50 years ago, there was like 10 options, or 100 years ago, right? There's, you're going to be in agriculture or a mechanic or this or that. There's only so many options. There was no internet. There was really like entrepreneurship was not a wide thing. Well, now kids have like a million options. They're exposed to so much by the time they enter into their adult life. A lot of them get paralyzed. And I think they think that this is like a final decision. And it's not. It's just is. It's just a path. It's a stepping stone. But the trick to the whole thing is to pick something. Just pick something that you think is going to be something you want, and then put all your energy and pursue it for 12 months and just see what happens. For me, and I know a lot of you, it's like one door leads to the next. I'm looking at Maurice. I mean, he still is. He's pursuing one thing that led him to us, and now he's like, holy cow, here's a whole other thing. Right? And this happens, but if you're on here now and you get stuck in analysis paralysis or spending a lot of time like wondering in the wrong direction or worrying, things of that nature, what I want to do is kind of open up for a Q&A and help you guys hopefully release some of that. So why don't we do that? Why don't we open up for a little hot seat coaching here? Who here has an example of the terror barrier that they've hit that you've either overcome or maybe not? Maybe, and I'll start just to put something on the table, right? I mean, the first time I got divorced, you hit a terror barrier, right? Or sorry, the second time, my bad. The second time, because it was a 10-year marriage, we had a lot of assets, a lot of friends and family, a lot of people, a decade of experience, and really everything in my life was awesome, except for the one thing. The one thing became somewhat toxic, right? So that's a good example of a terror barrier, because it can be perceived to be like a daunting task. Like, how do you change everything in your life in one shot? Right? I mean, I'm talking about the person you're with, like you're moving out of the home. I mean, almost everything changes, right? So a lot of people hit a terror barrier with that and they won't move forward. And let me pull up this is a really good one for the mind map. Let me show you an example. So if anybody here is in a relationship, right? You pull up the mind map. So these are some of the things. You go to make a decision like that. Like I knew I needed to make the decision. And then over here, worry and doubt. Well, what is my family going to think? That's over here. Right? Well, what are we going to do with the home? What are we going to do with the assets? What are my friends going to think? It's all over here, right? Worry, doubt, anxiety, fear of the unknown. Am I going to find somebody else? Like, I'm getting older. Is there somebody else out there? What if, you know, what if this is as good as it gets? This is all on this side of the equation. But you notice that none of those questions are, you know, am I happy? Am I blissfully happy? Am I happy? Like, none of the questions were like, does this person support me? Do I see us? Are we still on the same page? See, those are the type of questions, really the only questions we want to ask is this still what it was 10 years ago? Is it still there? Are we both in this, you know, two people going down a journey, open-minded, supporting, and willing to grow, right? And that's what ultimately happened. I was just on a crazy growth spurt, and the other person wasn't. So it's a good example. Now, I actually did hit a terror barrier. It was before I knew this information. Multiple times, and lesson 2 is what? The knowing doing gap. I had a 4-year knowing doing gap, or like we would come to the head and everything, and then boom, major blowout, and boom, boom, boom. But I knew that it needed to, you know, terminate and move on, right? But 4 years before I actually pulled the trigger. So that's before I had this content, right? So there's an example. Hopefully I can get you guys started. Who else here has an example of a terror barrier you either went through or you're facing right now that we could help you with?
I do.
Hey, what's up, Brandon?
Hey, how we doing?
Good to see you, my man.
Good. Yeah, good to see you too. I guess right now, one thing that I'm currently going through is I've for the last
Oh, he froze up. You're a little frozen, brother. We'll get back to you.
So maybe have him turn his video off.
I'm trying to do it here, but it won't let me. He's really in a bad spot. Who else has something we can start? John, you got something?
Yeah, it's a current terror barrier, I think.
Okay, perfect. Those are the best ones.
It's like scaring the hell out of me. So I'm still on lesson 1, doing, listening on TIR. And, I reached a point where I put down my C goal, okay? And my C goal is to earn $100,000 a month by April 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And, as I was thinking about it, and I was, writing, I actually made a little slide with it, with the planet of Earth on and my goal on top of that. And it was looking real cool. And then I sat back and I said, how the hell am I going to do that? and then all this fear just like ran through me. Like, what if you can't do it? And how are you going to do it from the perspective of you don't even know what your next steps are going to be, And so I'm sitting in the space now, just like I'm trying to like move myself into the knowledgeable column, the knowledge column, but I keep getting dragged back into that fear part.
Well, one of the first steps is just by you sharing this here, believe it or not, just by asking other people, right? So when I talk about awareness, one of the first things I want you guys to all grasp a hold of, this one made sense to me very, very quickly because of my engineering background. So John, if you knew how to get to 100,000 a month, you'd already be there.
Right.
Just that phrase alone should be very relaxing and freeing and calming. Because what I'm telling you is you're not going to ever know how until you get there and you look backwards. Then you'll be able to articulate it. So when you release, right now you think you need to know how. And that in itself is like analysis paralysis.
Right.
So you're spending more time thinking about how instead of just relaxing and letting and asking questions.
Okay.
Now, if do you know anybody in your entire existence that's earning that kind of money?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, maybe just call them up and say, hey, listen, what were some of the first things you did in the early days that led you towards, your wealth.
Mhm.
They may have the answer or they may not, but it's just one step leads to the next. And that's all you really got to understand is you just keep taking steps.
Okay.
Now John Tallarico just said, he was at 0 about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and now he's got 45 book calls. And even if a third of those go through, he's going to crush about 150,000 this month. But 4 weeks ago, he didn't know where that was coming from, but he's very wide open and freed to possibilities. And so part of it is just that. Release the how, guys. You all got to release the how. The how is not your business. How is not your business. What is your business is getting yourself into a vibration and feeling really, really good about the fact that you're designed to figure it out. And if you ask questions, lesson 12 is the mastermind principles. Right? And all you really want to do is start asking yourself some questions. Like lesson 1 is for you to write down all the possible things you want to accomplish, all the personal wants. Like, well, geez, man, I want to be a pilot. I want to have a home in Maui. I want to, play the guitar. I want to, whatever. You freely let all that stuff out, all your personal wants. And then another step in lesson 1 is to write down all of your professional wants, but not what you think you can get. It's what do you want? Well, I've always wanted to be a public speaker. I've always wanted to be CEO of a company. I've always wanted to have a 1,000-acre ranch in Wyoming and blah, 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 blah. So part of it is just letting and getting all that out. In that process, you start to connect some dots.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like, man, I really love helping people, but there's not a lot of money in helping people. But Bob Proctor would disagree, and I would disagree too. And I think John Tallarico is about to disagree. There's a lot of money in helping people, depending on what you're bringing to the table. So you just start to identify some things that you love and keep playing around with it and spend time, calming your mind and asking. Get a piece of paper and what are some things I could do that might lead me to 100K a month? And just you ponder it. You might get with a best friend or a spouse or something, and then you start to get some ideas on some possible things. For me, like I said, what came my way was a network marketing company, and now it's a very small piece of what I do. But with very little bandwidth, I'm the number 2 earner in the whole company. It's not a big deal or a small deal, it's just a deal. So you got to start to play. I think the biggest thing with you is surrendering to the process and forgetting the how.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
But yeah, go back to lesson 1 in the worksheets, guys, and do those like you've never even looked at it before. Really dig in, because that's designed to pull out of you.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, what's up, brother?
Hey, I was just wondering, we use the word awareness a lot. And I remember one time, Kathy and we bought a new vehicle, and that type of vehicle, I'd seen it before. I knew it was around. But once we bought that vehicle and started driving that vehicle, all of a sudden it seemed like there were thousands of them. I was never aware of how many there were. And I feel like once you have that big C goal, you start to become aware of every little thing that can lead you there. They just start kind of popping up, and they feel like they're just popping up out of nowhere. But really the reason they're popping up is because that's what you want. There's something that leads you there, something that you wouldn't have noticed before because you didn't have that goal. But now you start to see them. Do you think that's correct?
Oh yeah, you're 100% right. It's called the reticular activating system.
Okay.
And another way to say this is, there's millions of ways, John, to get to 100,000 a month. And all that information is all here. It's all around you. It's in the room. It's thought energy. Another way to look at this is every single radio station in every single language on the planet is omnipresent in your room right now. You're not tuned into the frequency and it's not amplified, but the fact of the matter is if you had the right equipment, I could tune in stations from Tokyo, right? And I've said this one before too, and it freaks people out. All the video that's out there that's being broadcast, including like porno, it's all around you. And if you had the receiving station, you would pick up the frequency, right? So all the information that you need, it's here. You're just not on the frequency of it. So when you calm your mind and relax, and you ask and you ponder and you think, you connect to the infinite, you start to get ideas. And then you talk to some other people and you get some more ideas, and another piece of the puzzle comes, and then you meet somebody. It's like, oh my God, I was thinking of doing this too, and you have that and I have this, and now we're together. So it's all just part of this process where the dots just keep getting connected. But the first part is just really calming your mind and letting it happen. That's what Lance is saying too. And you start to really just super saturate your, like, what are all the ways I could get to 100K? It might be 5 or 6 different things, you know? The way Bob breaks it down too, if he wants to, you know, if he wants to add an additional $1 million this week, he doesn't think about how do I earn $1 million. He thinks of 1,000 ways to earn $1,000, or do something for $1,000 once and have 1,000 people do it. He just breaks it down to the ridiculous, you know? Make sense? Matt, did you have something?
I can shed light on it.
Yeah, I thought I saw you wave or something.
I caught a bug. But so when I come against a terror barrier, when I set a really big goal that I'm not sure how we're gonna get there, how I'm gonna get there, what I'll do is I'll set the goal knowing that it's really genuinely, like, you really have to understand that it's none of our business. We have no idea how it's going to happen, and we're not supposed to know how it's going to happen. And like Dad said earlier, if we knew how, it would already be here. But in the most literal sense, you can find peace in the fact that you don't need to know how. Like, how cool is that you don't need to figure out how this is going to happen? Your only job in getting more of what you want is believing that it is here already. That's your only job. Your only job is believing that it's here already, convincing yourself that it's a fact before it's a fact in your physical realm, and getting really eager to see it, getting really excited about it, getting really emotionally involved in it, living it, breathing it, having fun finding it, being eager to find how it's going to unfold, and then just seeing how it unfolds. If I think about anything that Dad or I have manifested quickly and simply, it was never the result of like more hard work or like, you know, this crazy plan that we cooked up. It was like some random thing that came into our lives or came into our physical realm that we're like, oh, that makes sense, or oh, that makes sense, or oh yeah, that feels good, let's do that. Or it's the easy stuff, and it comes unexpectedly, but not unexpectedly. Maybe it comes in a way that you just didn't think of, but that's cool because that's none of our business anyways. So it comes in this new way. I have an example. I really wanted to find a person, you know, like it's a new boyfriend, and I was on dating apps, and I thought maybe I'd find someone on a dating app because, you know, they're all around the world and probably not going to be anyone in my hometown, so why not? And I ended up being introduced to him by his mom at a paradigm shift. That's really cool, but I thought it was going to come through a dating app. So I was spending my time on dating apps, putting out energy, but it came in a whole different way. So have fun, do what you know to do. Do what you know to do. Like when I was getting my car, I knew that I was going to test drive it at some point because I was going to get it. So I just went and test drove it. Even though I didn't necessarily know how it was going to happen. I just took the inspired action to test drive it because I was like, well, if I'm going to get it at some point, then obviously I'm going to test drive it. So why don't I just do that now? If you're going to get to 100K a month, what are you doing at 100K a month? You know, what does your life look like when you're there? Maybe you can start doing something now that you would do as 100K a month. Whose goal is that?
John's.
John?
Probably a lot of people, but John's, yeah.
So what are a few things that you're doing at 100K month you? John at 100K a month, what's he doing? Maybe he has a driver take him to the airport. Maybe he has a massage every single week. Maybe he's getting a pedicure. Dad's going to start getting pedicures soon, right, Dad? So pick out some things that you can do that you'd be already doing at 100K John, and start doing them now, and just start feeling how good it feels now that you're doing those things and earning 100K, and just start doing the things that you know you'll be doing anyways. Not necessarily, you know, like some people are like, oh, well, I can't buy my $1 million house. Well, maybe not today, but maybe tomorrow. But do the things that you can do now that are in line with what you say that you want. Does that make sense? And then just have fun. You're like, oh my gosh, maybe it's going to come through network marketing. Maybe it will come through a new business. Maybe it will come through a lottery ticket. Maybe it will come through here. I'd really love it if it came through my business, but if it doesn't, I'm totally cool with that. Let's just see how 100K a month is going to unfold. And then things start to line up a lot faster than you think.
So thank you.
Yeah, what Matt is really highlighting there too is it's really the secret sauce is just getting yourself into a high vibration and using all this stuff to stay there. So some of the things she's talking about are just going to put you in a high vibration. Bill Rogers, I don't know if he's on tonight, but last week he kind of shared his story. He's been working in this content for about 12 months, and it wasn't showing up in the physical world. So, well, he was doing the things, and he was in a network, maybe 2 network marketing companies, and he was doing the things, and he was showing up, but he wasn't a high vibration. He didn't have a bad attitude. I think he was catching some heat on the other end though, and he just, you know, lesson 5 is environment, not letting your environment control you, which your spouse is part of your environment. He just compartmentalized that, and in his mind, he's like, it is what it is. So for the most part, he stayed in a high vibration, and only like 8 weeks ago, like a whole nother revenue stream came into his life. And his goal was 83,000. A lot of people do that one because it's $1 million a year. And he instantly went to half of that, 40K a month, from like 5K a month to 40K a month, really almost overnight. And the way it came was like, he actually was pursuing something he's passionate about. So we have example after example. I know Kenny Howell has a bunch of examples. I could just look around. So many examples, but it's the people that surrender and let and have a state of calm, confident knowing. Those are the ones, right? And then the ones that are in resistance, what is resistance? It's a low vibration. Low vibration thoughts, low vibration results. And then people say this TIR course doesn't really work. But that's like saying gravity doesn't work. Now, you may not be using it properly. You may not understand it. You may not do the repetitive things. There might be pieces that you're missing. Or you might do the repetitive things, but subconsciously you're saying, well, this isn't going to work, but I'll do it anyway. So that's why we know it's never the program. It's not thinking the results. You're getting the same tools that I get, that Maddie has, that Kenny Hollis has. We're all getting the same tools. It's, are you using the tools? Are you literally doing these twice a day, every day in a high vibration? Are you in a spirit of letting? Are you open to possibility? Are you believing that, are you having faith that this will work or fear that it won't? Holy cow, did I just flush $10,000 down the toilet? Right? So that's just because you have the tools, you gotta use them. Hey John, what's up, bud?
Oh, hey Brian, I had a question. So when we're doing these sales calls, Brian, and you ask them what they really want, and they don't really go toward a monetary monthly income goal, but more of a, I want to publish a book or I want to speak around the world. Do you steer them back to getting them to talk about money always, or?
No, I mean, nobody ever has a monetary goal, by the way. John's goal, 100K a month, is not a monetary goal, even though it sounds like it is. It's always, always, always about what that type of money can bring into your life as human experiences. So most people publishing a book, okay, I want to publish a book, that's their dream. Right. But good luck trying to publish a book with zero income. I mean, it costs a lot of money to publish a book. So it's always, people are like, I'm not really materialistic. It's like, but I want to help a lot of people. Well, try to help a lot of people on $25,000 a year in the world we live in. It's just, I'm not saying it's not possible. I mean, Gandhi did it with zero money, if you're willing to live that lifestyle and put it all on the line. But by and large, I mean, none of you here have monetary goals. I mean, yes, they are, but it's all about what that can bring to you, the legacy, the impact, the expansion of your expression of who and what you are. But I wouldn't steer them that way, John. I would just explain what money is. It's energy. It's all it is. It's an amplifier. Most people have no idea what money is. Money is an idea. It's green paper if you really want to know what it is. It's the same stuff that you are in a different rate of vibration and a different composition. So even money itself is just an idea.
Got it.
I've always said, I want to be rich and famous. I want to become rich and famous. But if I had to choose between the two, I'd rather be famous.
Well, you are famous to a certain group of people. You forgot to put the part, I want to be famous, and known by billions of people or something. What else we got, guys? We got time for probably one more.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, how are you? Oh, Patrice, I saw your comment in the chat, and it said, where was that? I have a terrible of resuming going back into Forex trading.
Yeah, I tend to focus. I'm in lesson 1 of the TIR, and when I started trading, I started off with a bang, and then I suffered some losses and have been focusing for months on education. And to go back into it, I dabble a little bit, and I'm not worried with regards to, I'm not monitoring trades and but yet I realize I seem so contented with just focusing on the education. But I need to go into to go back live. But I seem to be just contented with going through education part of it.
Well, what you're going to do here is you're going to become very, very aware of your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, your body, and vibrations and things of that nature. So what you want to do is get to the point where your brain and your mind don't know the difference between paper trading and live trading, and you don't have an emotional connection to either. Right? So whenever I'm teaching somebody about trading, and they teach you this too, but you might be jumping in too quick into live trading. That's going to be a different experience for everybody. But here's what I want to say to you. People spend $200,000 on college in 6, 8, 10, 12 years of time to learn to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. And then people jump into Forex trading, they get all freaked out if they blow a $1,000 account. What you're doing is paying for information the same way you would as if you were in college. You know, if you blow even if you blow $1,000 10 times, there's feedback. But if you get emotionally involved in the result, and you're going down a death spiral. Just look at it as you got to pay for information. You're going to blow some accounts. Now, better off to blow accounts at 1,000 instead of 500,000. And it's all part of the process. You'll never meet a trader ever that hasn't blown a few accounts on the way. You just won't. That's how you learn.
I have no problem putting back up my account. You know, I have no difficulty. I do it immediately, and I have no difficulty with seeing losses because I'm an attorney and I know the number of years it takes. So I'm telling myself, okay, I understand if it took me 6 years to be an attorney. Obviously, I just started this in January, so it's fine. But I guess I'm just wondering to myself, because I'm somewhat competitive, whether or not I should not be focusing so much on the education and should be going live by now.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit of both, right? What you want to do is find a system, stick with that system on paper for a period of time until it proves out, and then you can start to sprinkle in live trading. What happens is when people go live trading, their emotions change, their vibration change, they get a little worried, it's real money. No, you can't.
I'm so not worried that sometimes I forget the trade is open. Yeah. It's just not about itself.
So what I usually teach people is to trade on paper until you're consistently winning, right? And then when you start to go live, do it every other day, and just connect from it. And if you can't go paper live, and you're like, oh my God, I wish that was a live day. Well, that's telling me that you don't, right? You got to get to the point where you're just so neutral to the outcome. And you got to fall in love with the losses as well as the wins, you know? It's, trading, for anybody here that's trading, you cannot trade with emotion. There's no emotion to the market. It's a system-driven thing. And you don't double down one day because one of the traders gives a signal. It's, oh my God, they're doing it, so I'm going to double down on this. Like, no, that's not following the system. Now you're just gambling. So you got to remove all the emotion, and you set up laws, you set up rules. And we can chat a little bit more about this on the next one, but you want to follow a system that works, prove it out on paper, and then start to mix. And then you slowly increase percentage. Everything is percentages, by the way. You should never be measuring in dollars, ever, ever, ever. Everything's always percentages. And if you're doing $100 per trade and 5% is what you're looking to get, it's $5, not a big deal. But if that was $1 million, it'd be 50,000, right? So everything on percentages.
Okay. Understand. Thank you.
Sure thing. All right, guys. Well, hopefully you got some value out of that. I appreciate you guys sharing your stories. And again, I want you to disconnect from the how, surrender to the process. The process is 2 videos a day, twice a day, every day in a high vibration, doing the worksheets and just surrendering to it all, right? Might take you a month, might take you 12 months, might take you 24 months. If you lose the connection to that and just understand that whatever it is you want has to happen, if you can just stay in a high vibration, then you'll enjoy the ride. It's all about the journey anyway. I always ask people, right, are you enjoying the journey? Even when you're getting kicked in the teeth, it's like, are you enjoying the journey? It's all part of the ride, you know? Awesome, guys. Have a great week. Be well and God bless. We'll see you soon.